The morning I turned 18, the house was too quiet for an Arizona Saturday in May. No helium balloons bumping the vaulted ceiling, no off-key happy birthday echoing from the stairwell, no smell of Dad's half-burnt chocolate chip pancakes drifting out of the wolf range like it did every year since I was 6. Just the low hum of the AC kicking on and the kind of silence that feels like someone pressed mute on the entire world. I padded barefoot across the travertine, past the gallery wall of perfectly staged family photos, all of us smiling in white linen on some Cabo beach we never actually enjoyed together, and into the kitchen. The island was a slab of Calicotta marble so white it looked cold. In the center sat one lone yellow post-it, the kind Lauren buys in bulk from Costco. At the estate attorney, back later, stay quiet, L&D. No happy birthday, no heart emoji. Just a command to be invisible on the one day I was legally unstoppable. My phone buzzed on the counter. A single iMessage from Blake, delivered with her usual pink heart emoji. Handling adult stuff, don't be extra today. I stared at the peach emoji until the screen went black. Extra? That was rich coming from the girl whose entire gap year had been funded by my barista tips and Lightroom preset sales. Something heavy settled in my stomach, the way the desert air drops 10 degrees the second the sun slips behind the McDowells. I left the phone where it was and walked straight to Dad's office. The double doors were cracked open, just enough for the automatic blinds to cast prison bar shadows across the leather sofa. His Mac was asleep, but the printer tray was still warm. A thick stack of papers sat half-hidden under a manila folder labeled 2024 Estate Plan, Final. I flipped to the last page. There it was. My full legal name, Riley Avery Harper, crossed out with 2 violent red Sharpie lines so thick the marker had bled through to the back of the sheet. Below it, in Dad's unmistakable architect handwriting. All real and personal property to be divided equally between my wife, Lauren Elizabeth Harper, and my daughter, Blake Vivian Harper. No mention of me. Not even a courtesy love you in the margins. I waited for the tears, for the scream, for something teenage and cinematic. Instead, every nerve ending went numb, like someone had flipped my heart to absolute zero. I felt the exact moment the last thread of hope snapped. Clean, painless, final. I set the pages down exactly as I'd found them. Then I walked back to the kitchen, brewed a single cup of coffee in the $14,000 Miele machine Lauren had to have, and opened my MacBook. The trust portal loaded instantly. No password needed anymore. Grandma Vivi had made sure of that. A single emerald green banner flashed across the top of the screen. Riley Avery Harper, sole beneficiary and successor trustee. Full authority activated. 05/17/2024, 1 a.m. MST. Current trust value, $11,840,217.63. Real property, 10407 E Cactus Road, Scottsdale, AZ 8525. Appraised value, $2.85 million, April 2024. I stared at the numbers until they blurred. $11,840,000. And the 6-bedroom, 5.5-bath, 7,200 square foot house I was currently standing in barefoot. All mine, as of 59 minutes ago. I took one slow sip of coffee, black, no sugar, the way Vivi taught me when I was 12 and she was already forgetting my name some days. Then I opened my contacts and pressed call on the very first name at the top. He answered on the first ring, voice gravel rough from too many Vegas nights. Daniel Kessler? Happy birthday to me, I said. A soft exhale, almost a laugh. I've had the file open since 4 a.m., Riley. Tell me what you want to do. I'm selling the house, I said. My voice didn't shake, not even a little. Cash deal. Close today. Can you make that happen? Silence for 1 heartbeat. 2. Vivian wrote that clause for this exact morning, he finally said. I'm already downtown. Give me 90 minutes and the title will be clean enough for a same-day record. I ended the call, set the phone face down on the marble, and looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the negative-edge pool shimmering turquoise under the rising sun. The saguaro stood like silent witnesses along the back wall. Somewhere out there, my dad, my stepmom, and my little sister were signing papers that erased me. By sunset, they wouldn't have a door to come home to. I finished the coffee, rinsed the mug, and placed it neatly in the drying rack. Then I opened a new text to the one person who had been trying to buy this house since I was 16. Still want 10407 E Cactus Road? I watched the 3 dots appear instantly. Jax Caldwell. Name your price, Harper. Cash. I'm already on the 101. I smiled for the first time all morning. 2.85 million. Wire by noon. Close by 5. The dots stopped. Then, done. See you in 40. I locked the phone, slipped it into the pocket of my oversized ASU hoodie, the one I bought with my own money the day I got my acceptance letter, and walked upstairs to start packing. The house was about to have its very last Harper morning, and I was the only one who knew it. 6:47 a.m. The sun was already a white coin above the mountains, turning the kitchen glass gold. I hit call before the second sip of coffee touched my tongue. Kessler. His voice was wide awake, like he'd been sitting in his 30th floor office in downtown Phoenix since 4 a.m. with a Red Bull and my file. Morning, Daniel. It's today. A low chuckle that sounded almost proud. Happy 18th, Riley Harper. I've had the successor trustee packet printed, notarized, and sitting on my desk since 2018. Tell me the magic words. I'm selling the house on Cactus Road. Cash deal. I want it recorded before the banks close. Silence for half a beat. Just long enough for me to hear the city waking up 30 miles south of here. Done, he said. Titles already flagged for same-day record. Give me a buyer and a number and I'll have the grant deed ready for e-sign in 20 minutes. I already have the buyer. I ended the call, opened Instagram, and went straight to the DM that had been sitting unopened for 8 months. At @JaxCaldwell_flips. Last message September 12. Still holding that house hostage, or can a guy make an offer? Snuffle. I typed with 2 thumbs. Still want 10407 E Cactus Road. The typing bubble appeared instantly. This man really did live on his phone. You serious right now? Dead. 2.85 cash. Wire the earnest by 9. Close by 5, or I move to the next bidder. The bubble disappeared, then reappeared. I'm at Henderson Executive right now. Wheels up in 10. I'll be landing Scottsdale Airport in 38 minutes. Deal? Deal. I screenshotted the chat, forwarded it to Kessler with the caption, "Buyer confirmed. Send wire instructions." His reply was instant. Already drafting the purchase agreement. You're the seller and the trustee. Arizona lets you sign both sides. No financing contingency, no appraisal, no escape clauses. I love it when rich grandparents plan ahead. I set the phone down and looked around the kitchen one more time. The Sub-Zero fridge still had Blake's Coachella wristband stuck to it with heart-shaped magnets. Lauren's "But First" rosé sign hung above the wine fridge. Dad's golf clubs leaned in the corner like they belonged there forever. They had 43 minutes of forever left. I opened the trust portal again just to watch the numbers refresh in real time. $11,840,217.63. The house was the biggest asset, but the Vanguard accounts weren't exactly hurting. Grandma Vivi had known exactly what she was doing when she moved everything into an irrevocable Arizona trust the year Lauren started pushing for that outdoor kitchen. My phone buzzed again. Kessler. Earnest instructions sent. Escrow company is as title on Scottsdale Road. They owe me favors, and they're opening at 7:30 for us. Tell your buyer to bring a cashier's check or a very fast wire finger. I forwarded the email to Jax without a word. 3 dots. Wire sent, screenshot attached. See you at the house. Try not to break anything expensive before I land. I opened the attachment. $250,000, non-refundable. Time-stamped 6:51 a.m. The money was already gone from his account and locked in escrow. There was literally no way out for him now. I exhaled slow and steady and felt something shift inside my chest, like a deadbolt sliding home. By 5 o'clock tonight, the house that raised me, the pool I cleaned every Sunday while they slipped off hangovers, the bedroom where I cried myself to sleep at 14 because Lauren told me I was too intense, none of it would belong to a Harper anymore. It would belong to a 32-year-old house flipper from Vegas who'd been stalking this listing since before I had my driver's license. And the 3 people who'd crossed my name out in red ink, they'd come home to a locked door, a sold sign, and the realization that the one person they thought they could erase had just erased them right back. I finished the last of the coffee, rinsed the mug, and set it upside down on the towel exactly the way Lauren hated. Then I walked upstairs to pack the only things in this house that had ever actually been mine. I was 14 months old when Mom died. Avery Harper wasn't just a pilot. She was a test pilot for a defense contractor out of Luke Air Force Base. The kind of woman who flew prototypes faster than sound and still came home to braid my hair with one hand while she debriefed engineers on the phone with the other. There's one photograph of her holding me in the cockpit of an F-35 simulator, both of us in matching aviators, her grin so wide it cracked the desert sun in half. 2 weeks later, she had a headache that wouldn't quit. 3 months after that, she was gone. Glioblastoma. The word still tastes like metal in my mouth. Dad carried her casket himself. 6 pallbearers, but Grant Harper refused to let anyone else take the front left corner. I remember the black dress shoes he wore that day were scuffed to gray by the time we reached the grave at the National Memorial Cemetery in North Phoenix. He kept saying, "No one will ever replace her," like if he repeated it enough, the universe would listen. 11 months later, he brought Lauren home. She showed up in a white sundress and wedge heels, hair the color of Scottsdale swimming pools, laughing like she'd already won the lottery. Dad introduced her as someone very special. I was still figuring out how to say juice without spraying it everywhere. Lauren knelt down, pinched my cheek hard enough to leave a pink mark, and said, "Aren't you just the cutest little thing? Don't worry, sweetie, I'm not trying to replace your mommy." 3 weeks later, they were engaged. 6 months after that, Blake Vivian Harper was born screaming in the same hospital where Mom had died. Suddenly, I was the big sister who had to share everything: Dad's lap, the master bedroom wing, the spotlight. Lauren's favorite line became, "Big sisters let little sisters win." At first, it was toys. Then it was birthday parties. Then it was love. Blake got the princess-themed 3rd birthday with a real pony in the backyard. I got a sheet cake from Basha's and a forced smile while Lauren filmed Blake blowing out my candles because she's little and it's cute. Blake got the $40,000 Sweet 16 at the W Scottsdale with a DJ who'd opened for Post Malone. I got a text that read, "Hope you're having a good day at work, heart," and a $50 Starbucks gift card. Grandma Vivi saw everything. Vivi Harper was old Texas oil money married into even older Arizona real estate money. She wore Stetson hats indoors and diamonds the size of nickels and never once called Lauren anything but that cheerleader. She watched Dad drain the accounts Mom had left for my college to pay for Lauren's breast augmentation recovery trip to Cabo. She watched Lauren redecorate Mom's office into a walk-in closet. She watched Blake total her first Jeep at 16 and heard Dad say, "Riley will cover the deductible. She's got that little job at Starbucks." The summer I turned 11, Vivi showed up unannounced in her pearl-white Bentley Bentayga. She took one look at the new outdoor kitchen Dad had installed for family gatherings, looked at me in my hand-me-down bathing suit from Blake's old cheer camp, and said, "Get in the car, sugar." We drove downtown to a law firm on Central Avenue that smelled like mahogany and old money. She sat me on a leather chair that swallowed me whole and had me sign my name 37 times while men in $5,000 suits explained words like irrevocable and successor trustee and absolute discretion upon attaining age 18. When it was over, Vivi squeezed my shoulders and whispered in her East Texas drawl, "This house, the brokerage accounts, the land and Carefree, every dime I'm putting in here is yours the second you turn 18. No court, no daddy, no cheerleader required. You use it however you need to, baby girl. Promise me." I promised. She died 4 years later in her sleep at the ranch outside Austin. The last lucid thing she ever said to me was over FaceTime, voice raspy from the oxygen mask. "Don't let them take what's yours, Riley Avery, not 1 square foot." I was 15. I cried for 3 days. Then I dried my face, opened a savings account no one knew about, and started working every shift I could legally take, because I knew one day the clock would hit 12:01 a.m. on my 18th birthday, and every promise Vivi ever made me would finally come due. Today was that day. From the time I was 14, I worked like a machine that never shut off. Summer 2019, when the whole world was on lockdown, I babysat for rich families in DC Ranch at $25 an hour cash. I pushed double strollers in 115-degree heat, wiped noses for kids named Bentley and McKinley, while Blake lounged by our own pool, posting stories with a quarantine glow Valencia filter. I stuffed every tip into an envelope labeled Trust. At 15, I waitressed at the Mission in Old Town. I carried $80 guacamole bowls to Scottsdale housewives while Lauren sat at the same table, laughing and showing off the white Range Rover Velar I had wired $98K for because the family needed a safer car. At 16, I worked morning barista shifts at the Starbucks in Scottsdale Quarter. I wore the green apron, fake smiled at regulars, while Blake walked in with her brand new Dior saddlebag, announced, "My sister works here, isn't that cute?" and posted a story captioned, "Supporting local tea pink." I dumped every tip into the jar in the back and transferred it straight to the trust at the end of the month. I also had one income stream nobody in the house knew about. I sold Lightroom presets. I stayed up until 3 a.m. editing Desert Tones, Scottsdale Sunsets, Coachella Neon for 16-year-old influencers who wanted to look like Tezza. $49 a pack, over 4,000 sales in 2 years. PayPal money flowed like water. I moved it all to Vanguard before anyone could ask. But no matter how much I earned, it was never enough. $240,000 for the saltwater pool and outdoor kitchen with the Uni pizza oven, underwater wine fridge, and 85-inch hidden TV. Lauren called it an investment in family. I signed the transfer on my own 16th birthday. $180,000 for Blake's gap year. 1-bedroom rental at the Standard Old Town, private cheer coaching 3 times a week, 3 straight days of Coachella VIP, door bags, red sole Louboutins, white gold Cartier love bracelet. Blake said she needed to find herself. I paid rent for 4 months until she moved back home because the apartment was too small. $42,000 for the whole family's spring break week in Cabo San Lucas the year I was a junior. I wasn't invited because I had to work extra shifts at Starbucks. They sent photos of Blake on a yacht captioned, "Family Forever." I saved the picture, not because I missed them, but to remind myself never to go soft. $28,000 to fix Blake's total Jeep Wrangler after she live-streamed herself into a light pole on Kierland because she was drunk. Insurance denied the claim. Dad said, "Riley has her own fund, honey. Help your sister." I moved money from the account labeled college to one unrenamed Blake's Mistakes #47. $9,500 for the family photo shoot at Saguaro Lake with Scottsdale's most Instagram-famous photographer. Lauren wanted new canvas prints for above the fireplace. I appeared in exactly 3 shots, standing behind Blake because Blake photographs better. My 17th birthday fell on a weekend shift. I got home at 11 p.m. to a half-price Costco vanilla cake with Happy 17 Riley scrawled in messy blue gel. Blake posted a photo of everyone cutting the cake, captioned, "Best sister in the world deserves the world. Aw, pain." I was out of frame, still in my coffee-stained Starbucks uniform. I never said no. I thought if I gave enough, one day they'd love me back. I was wrong. Every night before bed, I opened the Trust app, watched the balance creep upward from my own sweat, then watched the outgoing transfers labeled Family Expense Approved by Riley A. Harper. I told myself, just one more year, just until I was old enough, everything would change. Grandma Vivi had been right. They never planned to give me a share. They were just waiting for me to be old enough to keep taking from. But today, I was old enough. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't transferring money out. I was transferring ownership. 7:28 a.m. The Epson printer in Dad's office was still warm. I printed all 62 pages, 5 years of transfer history, the scanned new will with my name violently crossed out in red, every email confirmation of me hitting approved on things that were never mine. Black ink, white paper, cold truth. I folded everything neatly, slid it into a thick Manila envelope, and wrote across the front in thick black Sharpie, "Evidence, Riley A. Harper." The envelope went into my black Patagonia backpack right beside the MacBook. 7:49 a.m. Message from Jax. Screenshot of the transfer. $250,000, non-refundable earnest money. Caption underneath. "See you soon, kid. This one's gonna hurt them more than it hurts me." I didn't reply, just forwarded it to Kessler with a thumbs up emoji. 8:07 a.m. I called Desert Lock and Key, the same company I'd used twice before when Blake lost her 3rd set of keys in 1 year. "Scottsdale?" the guy asked. 10407 E Cactus. I need every exterior lock swapped for Schlag and Code Plus and August Wi-Fi modules. Today, I'm the trustee. Docs incoming. Cash or card? Trust debit card. Double your rush fee if you're here within the hour. Trucks already rolling. 25 minutes. 8:31 a.m. Locksmiths Marco and Luis rolled up in a dusty Ford Transit. I airdropped them the trust summary. Marco glanced once, nodded, asked nothing. 15 minutes later, every old Kwikset Halo lock Dad bragged was Smart Home Level 10 was in a plastic bag in the kitchen trash. Now the only way in was my Face ID or a 6-digit code only I knew. I tested it in the powder room mirror. The front door opened smooth as a goodbye. 8:47 a.m. I called U-Haul on Pima Road and booked the biggest 26-footer still available. 2 guys, 1 truck, 1 hour max. Personal items only. Cash tip if you're here by 9:15. On our way, mija. 9:12 a.m. The orange truck backed into the driveway, dust swirling. Jose and Carlos, both in silver and black Raiders caps, hopped out. I walked them upstairs. Only what I point to, nothing else. I pointed to the navy leather photo album Mom left, cover engraved Avery and Riley 2007. The walnut box holding 87 handwritten letters from Vivi, 2013-2020. Every one ending, "You are enough, sugar." 3 oversized ASU hoodies I bought with preset money. 16-inch MacBook Pro covered in NASA and Rivian stickers. The 2007 Steiff teddy bear missing half its left ear, chewed off by the dog Lauren kept exactly 6 weeks because too much hair. The silver Rivian R1S key fob in its velvet box. The truck I'd ordered last year and took delivery of the week I turned 18, titled solely to the trust. 19 minutes later, everything was boxed, taped, and loaded. I handed each guy 2 crisp hundreds from the old desk drawer. They nodded thanks and left without a word. 9:38 a.m.
I did one last lap with my backpack on. Living room. The 20K sectional Blake once spilled nail polish on and told me to pay to reupholster. Kitchen. The marble island where Lauren used to criticize my pasta for being too salty. Pool deck. The place I scrubbed salt cells every Sunday at 6 a.m. while they nursed hangovers. I didn't take a single glass, spoon, or photo that included them. On my way out, I stopped at the wooden sign in the hallway. The Harpers. Established 2012. Laser-etched, gold trim, wedding gift from Dad's college buddy. I unhooked it and tossed it straight into the garage trash. The clatter of wood on metal sounded like a starting gun. 9:55 a.m. I printed 2 A3 signs from Kessler's file. Under contract, cash pending, do not disturb, in bold red and black, and taped one to the front glass, one to the garage door. No giant for sale sign, no marketing. This wasn't a sale, this was a verdict. 10 a.m. I opened the August app, renamed the lock network Riley Only, and scheduled vacation mode to auto-activate at 5:01 p.m. today. After that, only one human on Earth could open that door, and her last name would never be Harper again. I stood in the empty foyer, desert sun pouring through the glass and painting golden squares across the travertine. I took one deep breath. Chlorine, blooming saguaro, freedom. Backpack on, evidence envelope in hand, Rivian key in pocket. 8 hours after I opened my eyes, I had erased every trace of myself from this house and prepared to erase every trace of them. 6 hours left. I smiled, really smiled, for the first time all day. They were coming home, and they would never get in again. 4:26 p.m. The white Range Rover Velar fishtailed into the driveway so hard the tires spit gravel across the stamped concrete I used to power wash every Memorial Day weekend in 110-degree heat. 3 doors slammed in perfect, furious unison. Blake saw the red and black sign first. Under contract, cash pending, closing today. In bold 48-point font, taped dead center on the glass. She froze mid-step, Lululemon belt bag swinging like a pendulum. What the actual hell? Lauren's stilettos clicked faster, like a metronome set to panic. Dad was already at the door, fist raised like he still belonged here. He pounded hard enough to rattle the sidelights. Riley, open this door right now. I watched them on the Ring app for 5 full seconds, just long enough for the satisfaction to settle. Then I tapped the August icon on my phone. The deadbolt slid back with a soft, expensive thunk. I opened the door myself. The foyer was no longer empty. To my left, Daniel Kessler in a navy Tom Ford suit, leather briefcase at his feet. Leaning against the kitchen island, Jax Caldwell, black t-shirt stretched across his shoulders, arms folded, amused smirk. On the 85-inch Samsung that Lauren had fought Dad over for 3 months, the escrow officer from Arizona Title, face crisp on Zoom, closing binder open on screen. And flanking the front door, 2 Scottsdale PD officers, one tall and tan, one shorter and built like a linebacker, who had arrived 4 minutes ago when the silent duress alarm I triggered at noon finally did its job. Dad stormed in first, face the color of the red rock in Sedona. He opened his mouth and every word died when he saw the strangers and the complete absence of my stuff. The console table was bare, the hooks by the garage door were empty, my shoes, my keys, my life, gone. Blake shoved past him. Who the fuck are these people? Her gaze darted to the blank walls where senior pictures used to hang. Where's all your crap, Riley? Lauren clutched her real pearls, literally. Baby, whatever this is, we can fix it. Put the for sale sign away and we'll talk. I looked at each of them in turn and felt exactly nothing. It's not a discussion. Dad finally found his voice. You changed the locks on your own family? Before I could answer, the alarm chirped twice. Duress mode. Any forced entry after that first unlock triggers automatic 911 dispatch. Red and blue lights were already strobing across the travertine. The taller officer stepped forward. Scottsdale PD, priority alarm. Everyone stay calm and identify yourselves. Dad exploded. This is my house. My daughter locked us out and brought strangers inside. Arrest her. The shorter officer raised a hand. Sir, lower your voice. He turned to me. Ma'am, ID and paperwork? I handed over my driver's license and the stapled 62-page trust document. Kessler slid the certified deed across the island. Daniel Kessler, counsel for the trustee. The real property at 10407 E Cactus Road transferred to Miss Harper's sole control at 12:01 a.m. this morning. She is the legal owner and occupant. The taller officer flipped to the critical paragraph and read it aloud, slow and clear so there was no misunderstanding. Upon the beneficiary attaining the age of 18, said beneficiary shall immediately and automatically become successor trustee with full, unrestricted authority to sell, convey, mortgage, lease, or otherwise dispose of any and all trust assets without consent, joinder, or court order of any other party. Dad's jaw worked soundlessly. Lauren let out a high-pitched animal sound and swayed. Blake screamed, "That's bullshit! We were at the lawyer this morning and he said the house goes to us." Kessler adjusted his glasses. Your lawyer can amend a will all he likes. A will only controls assets titled in the decedent's individual name. This residence has been held in the Vivi Harper Irrevocable Trust since 2013. Your will is irrelevant. Lauren collapsed against Dad's chest, gasping. We're being robbed in our own home. Blake tried to charge me. You planned this, you jealous bitch. The shorter officer moved smoothly between us. Young lady, back up, now. Dad's eyes filled with tears he hadn't earned. Riley, sweetheart, whatever they told you, it's a misunderstanding. We love you. I met his gaze. You love the idea of my money, not me. The taller officer closed the binder. Title and trust appear valid. Miss Harper is the sole legal occupant. You three need to leave the property immediately. Lauren screamed, raw and broken. Blake dropped to her knees on the foyer tile, palms slapping the floor I used to mop after her parties. This is my house. I grew up here. Dad made one last desperate grab. Officers, please. She turned 18 today. She's upset. Give us a chance to talk as a family. The shorter officer shook his head. Not on this property, sir. You have 15 minutes to collect personal belongings. After that, anyone remaining will be removed for trespassing. Blake was openly sobbing now, crawling toward the staircase like she could cling to the banister and stay forever. Lauren had to be half carried by Dad toward the master. I heard drawers slamming, zippers ripping, Lauren's broken wails echoing down the hallway. I stayed exactly where I was, arms loose at my sides, watching the cable box clock tick. 4:39, 4:40, 4:41. They came back down with 3 Louis Vuitton duffels and 2 Nordstrom bags, faces streaked and ruined. Dad paused at the threshold, shoulders shaking. Lauren wouldn't look at me. Blake did, eyes full of pure hate. The officers escorted them to the porch. The taller one spoke quietly into his radio. The front door closed with a soft final click. Through the side light, I watched Dad fumble the key fob, drop it, pick it up with trembling fingers. Lauren folded herself into the passenger seat like something broken. Blake climbed in back and immediately turned her face to the window. The Velar reversed down the driveway, tires crunching over the same gravel that used to scrape my knees when I learned to ride a bike. I didn't move until the taillights disappeared around the bend toward Scottsdale Road. Then I turned back to the empty dining table where Thanksgiving used to seat 12. The house was finally completely quiet, and for the first time in 18 years, it belonged to someone who actually deserved it. 4:41 p.m. The officers stepped back inside, boots echoing on the travertine. "Clock's running, folks. 15 minutes started 4 minutes ago." Lauren's knees buckled. She grabbed the door frame so hard her French manicure scraped paint. Dad's face had gone the color of wet concrete. Blake spun in a slow circle, bloodshot eyes taking in the empty shelves, the missing senior photos, the silence where her life used to echo. Dad found his voice first, softer now, pleading. "Riley, you can't do this to us." I met his stare. 12 hours ago, you stood in some lawyer's office and crossed my name out in red ink. I'm only doing what Grandma Vivi made legal the second I turned 18. Lauren let out a broken sound, half sob, half scream. "You ungrateful little..." She lunged. Dad caught her wrist just in time. Blake dropped to the hardwood she used to practice cheer routines on, palms flat. "This is my home," she whispered, voice cracking. "Where am I supposed to go?" I didn't answer. Dad tried again, gentler. "We can fix this. We'll rip up the new will. You'll still get your share. Just don't take the house." I almost laughed. "You think this is about my share? You think I want a piece of what you were willing to steal?" Lauren slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, mascara carving black rivers down her cheeks. "I'll kill myself," she said suddenly, voice hollow. "If you do this, I swear to God I'll kill myself." The taller officer shifted his weight. "Ma'am, threats like that aren't helpful right now." Dad knelt beside her, whispering promises I couldn't hear. Blake crawled over and curled against Lauren's side like she was 8 instead of 18. Minutes bled away. They moved like ghosts. Purses, laptops, a handful of designer dresses stuffed into Louis Vuitton duffels that suddenly looked cheap and ridiculous. Dad tried one last time, holding out his phone. "Call the title company. Tell them it was a mistake. We'll pay you whatever you want." I looked at the screen, then at him. "I don't want your money. I want what was always mine." The officers cleared their throats. "Time's up." Dad helped Lauren to her feet. She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Blake refused to look at me as they shuffled toward the door. At the threshold, Dad paused, shoulders sagging. "I'm sorry," he said, so quietly I almost missed it. I didn't reply. They stepped onto the porch. The officers followed, closing the door behind them with a soft final click. Through the side light, I watched Dad open the back of the Velar, toss in the bags, then stand there with his hand on the liftgate, staring at the house like it might vanish if he blinked. Lauren collapsed into the passenger seat. Blake climbed in back, face turned away. Dad finally got behind the wheel. The engine turned over. Reverse lights glowed. The SUV backed slowly down the driveway, tires crunching on the gravel I used to rake every spring. I watched until the taillights disappeared around the saguaro-lined corner. Then I locked the door, set the alarm to stay, and walked back to the empty dining table. The escrow officer's face reappeared on the 85-inch TV, crisp and professional. "We're ready to record whenever the seller is." Jack sat across from me at the oak table that used to seat 12 on Thanksgiving. Kessler placed the closing binder between us like a referee. I opened my laptop, angled the camera, and hit record for my own files. The HUD one was simple. Purchase price, $2,850,000. Earnest money credit, $250,000. Balance due today, $2,600,000. Jax tapped his phone. A notification pinged on the trust account. Wire received, 4:47 p.m. $2,600,000. I signed the warranty deed with the same black Mont Blanc I used for my ASU acceptance letter. Trustee signature line, seller signature line, both mine. 11 minutes from start to finish. The escrow officer smiled. "Congratulations, Mr. Caldwell. Recording confirmed with Maricopa County. Keys are yours." Jack stood, stretched, shook Kessler's hand. Then he looked at me. Pleasure doing business, Harper. He dangled the new key fob I'd had made this morning. Just one single key. I'll have my crew here Monday. Pink stucco's gone by next week, promise. You good, kid? I nodded once. He walked out the front door without another word. The officers tipped their hats and followed him out. Kessler closed his briefcase. It's done, Riley. The house is sold. The money is yours. You're free. He left too. I stood alone in the two-story foyer, sunlight pouring through the transom window and landing on the exact spot where we used to take Christmas photos. The house was silent except for the low hum of the AC and the faint splash of the pool fountain outside. 4:58 p.m. $2.85 million richer. A lifetime lighter. I slipped the single house key Jax had left behind off the ring and dropped it into the kitchen trash on top of the old Harper plaque. Then I shouldered my Patagonia, walked out the front door, and pulled it shut behind me. The August lock clicked with satisfying finality. The house on Cactus Road was no longer home to any Harper. And for the first time in 18 years, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. February 2025, 9 months later. I was 20 minutes early for my propulsion systems lab when I took the long way down Rural Road, past the new light rail extension just because I could. The Rivian R1S glided silent and silver through Tempe morning traffic, Arizona plates reading Vivi 18, catching the sun every time I hit the brakes. The truck still smelled like new leather, and the faint pine tree I hung from the mirror the day I picked it up paid in full from the trust the same week the house closed. I lived on the 14th floor of the Novus Place, a glass tower 2 blocks from campus that didn't exist when I was in high school. 1 bedroom, west-facing, floor-to-ceiling windows that turned the whole apartment molten orange at sunset. I wrote 1 check for 36 months the day I moved in, $108,000. The leasing agent actually stuttered when I slid it across the marble counter. Now my mailbox only got Amazon packages and quarterly statements from Kessler & Associates. Trust balance this morning, $7.41 million. 4 years of in-state aerospace engineering tuition, paid. Rent, paid. Rent, 3 years, paid. The rest sat in Vanguard indexes growing quietly while I learned to design rocket nozzles and argue with PhD students about specific impulse. I barely thought about North Scottsdale anymore, except when the algorithm was cruel. Dad and Lauren ended up in a 1990s stucco 2-bedroom off 67th Avenue in West Phoenix, the kind of complex where the pool has been closed since 2019 and every parking spot has an oil stain older than me. Rented, obviously. Their credit had cratered below 580 once the house vanished, and the credit cards they'd been paying with family money maxed out. Dad picked up contract architecture work, mostly strip mall remodels. Lauren sold Rodin Plus Fields on Instagram Live from a kitchen with fake granite. The white Range Rover was repossessed in November. Blake lasted 1 semester at ASU Poly before she dropped out. Now she worked bottle service at Maya Day Club on weekends and bartended weekdays at Salt Tacos y Tequila. Black crop top, forced smile, tips barely covering her share of the West Phoenix rent. She made 42 Venmo requests to me between May and December, amounts climbing from $47.80 for gas to $2,400 for car repairs. I never opened a single one, just hit decline and block. The 43rd came from a new account with no profile picture. I blocked that too. Sometimes on Thursday nights, I'd be walking across campus and a new TikTok would autoplay. Blake in the Maya bathroom mirror, duck face and tequila shots. Caption, Scottsdale used to be home. Who missed the old days? The comments were brutal, half of them from people who already knew the story. I never liked, never commented, never even let the video finish, just swiped. The only person from my old life I still talked to was Maya Delgado, my fluids lab partner since freshman year. She knew everything, asked nothing, and could crush a differential equation before most people finished coffee. We met every Tuesday at Cartel Coffee on Mill for cold brew and silent study dates that sometimes turned into 2 a.m. talks about grad school and NASA internships. She never once said, "How's your family?" because she already knew the answer. I changed my number the week I moved into the Novus. The only people who had the new one were Maya, my academic advisor, Kessler, and the 4 friends I actually chose. Maya, Jonah, Simran, and Diego from my orbital mechanics cohort. We had a group chat called Thrust Vectoring and Chill that stayed active 24/7 with memes and homework screenshots. That was my family now. Sometimes, when the desert wind rattled the balcony door at night, I'd open the trust portal just to watch the balance tick upward. Not because I needed to check, but because I still couldn't quite believe it was real. $7.41 million, and every cent of it mine. No strings, no guilt, no big sisters let little sisters win. I still carried Harper on my driver's license and my student ID, but the name change paperwork was already filed in Maricopa County Superior Court. Riley Avery Lane, Mom's maiden name. The judge approved it last month. New Social Security card was in the mail. One more tether quietly cut. I pulled into the parking garage under Gamage Auditorium, grabbed my backpack, and headed toward the engineering building. The Rivian locked itself behind me with a soft chirp. 9 months ago, I walked out of a 7,200 square foot prison with 2 suitcases and a broken heart. Today, I walked into a future I paid for myself. 1 line of code, 1 wind tunnel test, 1 all-nighter at a time. And nobody waiting to take credit. Nobody waiting to take anything. Just me, the desert sun, and a sky so wide it finally felt big enough to hold everything I was becoming. April 12, 2025, 2:47 p.m. I was parked in the empty lot of Desert Mission Church on Northern Avenue, halfway between a lab practical and a wind tunnel run, just trying to breathe for 5 minutes. The Rivian was in shade, AC humming low, windows tinted dark enough that no one could see me staring at my phone like it was a loaded gun. Unknown number, Arizona area code. Message delivered 37 seconds ago. Rye, it's me. Please don't block this one. I'm 8 weeks pregnant. I'm scared. I have no one else. I know I don't deserve it, but please just answer. No photo, no proof, just those 4 lines sitting on the screen like a hand grenade with the pin already pulled. I read it once, then again, then a 3rd time, slower, waiting for something, anger, pity, guilt, anything, to rise up. Nothing came, just the same cold, clear quiet I'd carried since the day I locked the door on Cactus Road. I thought about the 42 Venmo requests. I thought about the TikTok from last week where Blake cried in the Maya bathroom because my own sister won't even talk to me. I thought about the way she used to steal my clothes, my friends, my childhood, and then post photos with the caption, "Sister Goals." 8 weeks. That put conception right around Valentine's Day. Probably some bottle service regular who ghosted the second the test turned pink. Classic. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could type 100 things. Hope you and the baby are healthy. Get an attorney. Fuck you. Instead, I did the only thing that felt honest. I pressed and held the message. Delete thread. Block this number. The screen went back to my lock screen photo. Me and Maya on the roof of the engineering building at sunset, both of us in NASA shirts, middle fingers up at the camera, laughing like we'd already won. I turned the volume knob all the way to the right. The weekend filled the cabin, bass so heavy the seats vibrated. I dropped the Rivian into drive, rolled the windows down, and let the 110-degree wind whip my hair into my mouth. By the time I hit the Loop 202 on-ramp, I was doing 80, singing every word to Starboy at the top of my lungs, the church and the message and the girl who used to be my sister shrinking in the rearview mirror until they disappeared completely. Some doors you don't just close, you weld them shut, pour concrete over the handle, and drive away without looking back. I didn't look back. May 17th, 2025, my 19th birthday fell on a Saturday this year, so we celebrated that night when the desert finally dropped below 90 and Mill Avenue smelled like orange blossoms and spilled tequila. I didn't rent a rooftop or hire a DJ. I just opened every window on the 14th floor of the Novus Place, pushed the couch against the wall, and told exactly 5 people to come over at 8. Mayo Delgado, Fluid's partner, future astronaut, the only person who can roast me and still make me laugh. Jonah Kim, orbital mechanics genius, secretly writes K-pop fanfic. Simran Patel, structures queen, can deadlift more than the boys. Diego Morales, propulsion, owns 3 Rivians and a flamethrower. And Leela Chen, human factors, brings the best weed pens and zero judgment. 5 people, no plus ones, no family group chat, no fake smiles. We demolished 4 family-sized pizzas from Pizzeria Bianco, 2 rosemary potato, 2 Sunny Boy, a bottle of Casamigos Blanco, and a playlist I titled 2016 Was a Simpler Trauma. The Weeknd, into Drake, into Chainsmokers, into old school Bieber, like we were trying to exercise every high school house party we never got invited to. Jonah attempted to teach everyone the shoot dance and failed spectacularly. Simran turned my coffee table into a beer pong battlefield using red Solo cups and sparkling water because nobody wanted a hangover before Monday's composites midterm. Diego connected his phone to the Sonos and accidentally played Sweet Caroline at 2 times speed. We screamed the lyrics anyway, off-key and perfect. At some point, the living room became a sweatbox of laughter and fairy lights, so we spilled onto the balcony. Tempe glittered below us, the neon of Mill, the glow of A Mountain, the red brake lights crawling toward the 202. Someone passed me a tequila shot with a lime already bitten in half. I licked salt off my own wrist, threw it back, and felt the burn all the way to my toes that were finally truly free. Around 11:30, the chaos slowed. Maya disappeared into the kitchen and came back carrying one single Sprinkles red velvet cupcake with a lone candle stuck in the frosting. No happy birthday piping, no sparkler, no giant sheet cake from Costco. Just one candle, one wish, 5 friends singing off-key under their breath because they knew I hated being the center of attention. Maya said it on the balcony railing. Make a wish, Harper. I smiled at the name, the last night it would ever be completely true. Actually, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, court approved the change last week. It's officially Riley Avery Harper Lane now. A beat of silence, then Jonah raised his cup. To Riley fucking Lane. Glasses clinked. Someone howled at the moon like idiots. Maya bumped my shoulder. You okay letting Harper go? I looked down at Mill Avenue, at the river of headlights and 20-year-olds chasing whatever version of forever they thought existed tonight. I kept it as long as I needed to get here, I said. Now it's just luggage. The candle flickered in the hot wind. I closed my eyes. I didn't wish for money. I had plenty. I didn't wish for revenge. It was already served cold. I didn't even wish for them to hurt the way I once did. I wished for the girl who used to flinch at slam doors, who used to count quarters for gas, who used to believe love was something you could earn if you just gave enough, to stay gone forever. I blew the candle out in one clean breath. Smoke curled into the night like a secret finally released. Maya slung an arm around my neck. Proud of you, Lane. Inside, Diego was trying to balance a pizza box on his head while Simran timed him. Laughter spilled out the open door and floated down 14 floors to the street. I leaned my forearms on the warm railing, tequila buzzing soft in my veins, desert wind tangling my hair. Quietly, so only the sky could hear, I whispered, I made it, Mom. I made it, Vivi.
Somewhere above the light pollution, 2 stars burned brighter than the rest. I like to think they were listening. Behind me, my real family was arguing over who got the last slice and whether Post Malone still counted as 2016 throwback. I smiled. Riley Avery Harper Lane, 19 years old, $7 million in the bank, and nobody on earth who could take a single thing from me ever again, took a long breath of orange blossom air and walked back inside to them. The door slid shut. The playlist rolled into the next song. And the night was ours. 3:14 a.m. The apartment had finally gone quiet. Empty pizza boxes stacked like trophies in the trash, red cups rinsed and upside down in the sink, the faint smell of Casamigos and laughter still hanging in the air. Maya was passed out on the couch under the throw blanket I bought in Flagstaff last spring. Diego's snores rumbled softly from the beanbag. The rest had Ubered home an hour ago, hugging me hard at the door, promising wind tunnel brunch tomorrow like it was already tradition. I stepped onto the balcony one last time. The desert night had cooled to 72, the kind of perfect that only happens in May after the parties die down. Tempe was asleep below me, Mill Avenue dark except for the neon of Four Peaks and the eternal glow of the giant ASUA on the mountain. The water tower on campus stood gold against the black block letters, shining like a promise I had already started keeping. I leaned my forearms on the railing and let the wind comb through my hair. Somewhere 60 miles north, the house on Cactus Road was probably mid-demolition, pink stucco gone, Jax's crew turning it into whatever sold fastest to the next tech couple from California. I hoped they painted it something boring. I hoped they never knew the fights that happened inside those walls, the tears that soaked the carpet, the red Sharpie that crossed a little girl's name off a future. I still carried Harper on my student ID for one more week until the new one printed, but the rest of the world already called me Lane. Riley Avery Harper Lane. 3 names, 2 ghosts, 1 girl who finally belonged to herself. Family isn't who you pay to stay. It's who stays when you stop paying. Maya stayed tonight because she wanted to, not because I bought the pizza or the tequila. Jonah stayed because we're co-authors on a paper that might get us into AIAA conference in Denver. Simran stayed because she said my balcony has the best view on campus, and she wasn't wrong. Diego stayed because he lost a bet about specific impulse and had to do dishes. They stayed because they chose me, $0 attached. I thought about the unknown number I blocked in the church parking lot, about the 42 Venmo requests, about the Range Rover that wasn't theirs anymore, about the girl crawling on the foyer tile begging for a house she never cleaned once. I felt nothing. Not hate, not pity, just the clean, sharp edge of finality. I walked back inside, slid the balcony door shut, and killed the string lights. The apartment dropped into darkness, except for the soft blue glow of my laptop on the kitchen counter. One last refresh, because some habits die hard. Trust balance, $7,382,000, $114.92. Up another $6,000 since last month. The market was kind. I closed the lid. For the first time in years, I didn't leave it open just in case. I turned off notifications, powered down completely, and set the computer on the shelf next to the photo of Mom in the cockpit and the last letter Vivi ever wrote me. I crawled into bed, sheets cool against my skin, the faint smell of sprinkles frosting still on my fingers from the cupcake. Tomorrow was Sunday. I had a composite slab at 10, a study session at Cartel at 2, and 0 obligations to anyone who ever asked me to sign another check. For the first time in my entire life, the day was completely, undeniably mine. I closed my eyes. Somewhere in the dark, the desert wind rattled the balcony door like it was saying goodnight. I smiled into the pillow. Good night, Mom. Good night, Vivi. Good night, Riley Harper. Hello, Riley Lane.
And for the first time ever, the silence didn't scream. It just let me sleep. End of story. Exactly as requested. No sentence lost, shifted back 1 year.